Tick tock, time to rock. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon to everyone who's watching from all over the world. It's your friendly neighborhood philosopher here, D Wood, and you're not so friendly, although more friendly now that he's a Christian apostate. Apis.
Well sayest thou, thou hast spoken truth indeed. I am now much friendlier. What's up, man?
Hey, what's up, dude?
What's up, man? What's up?
What's up? What you been doing, man?
Oh, nothing. Just chilling. That's it. Been going into my learnings and chilling, and that's it.
Been doing all your Kate Schumann stuff?
Yeah.
What happens after you graduate from Kate Schumann school?
I go to Karen Schumann school.
Because I'm wondering, is it too late for you to be the next pope?
Yes.
Because what would need to happen is you'd need the reunification of the Orthodox Church and the Catholic Church to take place, and for them to decide now is the time when we need our Uber Pope over both, and then I would then nominate you. They're going to want an outsider to do the nominations, so I'll have to say, okay, well, as a kind of Protestant, I'll be the one who picks for you.
I already said that. So once I'm done with my Kate Schumann phase, which is going to take a little while, I am going to be baptized. And once I'm baptized, I already promised to people that I'm going to, number one, take back Constantinople. And number two would be to end the schism and to unite the church. So, I do have that plan. I don't think I don't really see myself as a good candidate for the Pope yet, though. So,
yeah, but because you're saying it now before you retake Constantinople. Once you retake Constantinople, you kind of have an airtight case.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's like we always talk about some of the repercussions that would for all the people who are from the river to the sea. If they ever actually got what they wanted, because there's so many people want to give them what they want. If they ever actually got what they wanted, you would see the restoration of the caliphate within a year, because they would have all that momentum going. There would be tons of excitement. They would be saying, "See, we're strong." But guess what? Something similar would happen with retaking Constantinople and turning Hagia Sophia back into a church, and then giving the first sermon, the first Christian sermon from that church. From that packed church filled with Christians.
The atmosphere, man. Can you imagine the mood if that happened?
I'm saying that's instant pope. That's instant pope status right there. Instant pope status.
That would be amazing, man. You're saying it now. You're joking, but I think about it every day and every night. I think about retaking.
I feel a song coming on.
Constantinople, and how it would be to retake Constantinople and to have a patriarch go there and to speak for the first time, and it would be broadcast to the whole world for the first time. After such a long time, speaking from Constantinople, speaking from one of the most important Christian historical buildings ever built, speaking from the heart of Christianity at some point, once again dedicated to Christianity, speaking to the Christian world, speaking to the rest of the world. Man, the atmosphere, the mood would be fantastic. It has to happen, man.
I'm telling you, It's gonna end the schism, and even Protestants are gonna be like, "That's a pope we can get behind." Everyone will be on this. Everyone will be on the same page, all Christians, and then we will humiliate all the kuffar.
You see?
Hey, you heard of this Wes Huff guy, man? You heard of this Wes Huff guy?
Yeah. Who is that? What's with that?
I don't know, but he's doing some cool stuff. So he had one epic debate with Billy Carson where he crushed a dude so bad that everyone wanted to hear from him. Everyone wanted him on their shows, and then he's been going on all kinds of shows. Joe Rogan, PBD, now Piers Morgan. And it's funny. It's funny with Piers Morgan. See, you have the Muhammad Hijabs of the world, and there were others on there as well. There were others. after the October 7th attacks, Piers Morgan kept getting all kinds of people on his show. Ended up with lots of guys like Mohammed Hijab on there. Lots of them who would not only treat the other guests like garbage, just heaping insults on them and so on, but also even insulting and heaping abuse on Piers Morgan. And I'm sitting there thinking, you've got this Piers Morgan guy with this huge show, this huge platform, and these guys are doing everything they can to insult and annoy him.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just sitting here thinking, you know this guy has a lot to say about who he platforms and who he doesn't. Seems like he might start helping some other people. Might start doing that. And so it's just interesting. It's just interesting that if you give someone like Piers a negative view of you and your community and so on, that's a guy who over the years that are to come might start getting people to criticize your position and let them get away with it.
I see all your praise and all your good stuff about Piers Morgan, but the thing is, I can't really praise him very much because the issue is I also have a personal thing going on. He called me a jerk the last time.
You should get a medal for that.
So I'm kind of angry with him. In fact, Piers, I know you're watching this. I challenge you to a mubahala. Piers Morgan, Piers? I challenge you to a mubahala. Piers, where you at?
Where you at, Piers? Where you at? Hey, here you go. This is what will happen if we get the mubahala. What's up with these guys, man? What's up with these guys? So anyway, but that's a good point, right? It's like that's how these guys act. It's like their thinking is so short term. It's, hey, however I can insult and degrade this guy at this point, it's worth it. Not realizing, okay, this is giving a lot of people a negative view of me and my community, and in the long term is creating more hostility towards my position. But they can't stop. They can't stop. They don't realize what they're doing. And but we thank them for it. Doing a great job, guys. Keep ticking off everybody. Because hey, isn't it funny? Like if you'd go back just like what was it like 2-3 years? You had all these people like Jordan Peterson and so on, and they were in bridge building mode. We're gonna align with the Islamists. Because at least they're anti whatever we're against, and the trans stuff. We're all on the same page there, so we'll align with these guys. And then they keep trying to build bridges and get these guys on board with them, and these guys do what? Oh, will humiliate you? How dare you tell this me? Ha, 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 ha. And then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, we want nothing to do with these guys. Powerful, man. Dawa is powerful, very powerful. So anyway, me and Anthony the other day when you were in your Kate Schumann night church or whatever. Mm-hmm. Me and Anthony watched part of an interview. Got Wes Huff on Piers Morgan live, and he was breaking down.
He was
breaking down.
Loser.
He was breaking bad and breaking down.
Oh yeah.
But he's breaking down historical evidence for the resurrection, things like that. But we didn't get to the section where he starts talking about Islam and eventually gets to the Islamic dilemma. And everyone who wants to check that out, we're about to check it out now. But also Cameron Bertuzzi, if you want a short video, Cameron Bertuzzi made a video going specifically through Wes Huff's presentation of the Islamic dilemma. So we got the Islamic dilemma now on Piers Morgan Live. It's catching on everywhere. Don't know if you've seen it. Sajid today posted a response to the Islamic dilemma.
He did?
Yeah, Hijab did a little while back. We made fun of that. That was embarrassingly terrible. The Orthodox Muslim and Dean Responds and other guys have been making responses to the Islamic dilemma. These are good times for us. If you're a Dawa guy, these are very, very bad times. These are bad times to be making terrible responses to a good argument. Not going to work out well for you this year. Not going to work out very well for you this year. It's going to work. Funny? It's going to work out for us, though. What's up?
I think when you are subscribed to a channel and then you unsubscribe from that channel, YouTube deliberately doesn't show you anything from them for a while.
Oh yeah.
Now that you mentioned Sajid Lipham, I thought, wait a minute, I haven't seen that guy for a long time. That's because I apparently a while ago I unsubscribed from him. So here's that. Here it is, Sajid. You had me as a subscriber. You lost me. I unsubscribed from your channel.
Wow.
And since then, I guess I didn't get any. I didn't get any notifications or any recommendations of Sajid Lipham. So I didn't see anything that the goat posted, but that's interesting. Maybe we should look at that.
Maybe you didn't get any notifications about Sajid because his videos suck. I don't know. Is that the case?
That's also a possibility.
Let me see. Let me see. Just want to check how his videos are doing.
Oh, he posted a video 3 days ago in which you can see us on the thumbnail abundantly.
What?
In response to a Mohammed hijab. Man.
Oh yeah. Hey, we still have to check out some of the stuff on. We're still not fully updated on the stuff with hijab because we didn't go through the Ali Dawa thing, Ali Dawa's response. We have to go through. Well, there's some stuff to be updated on. But wow, no, he got 61,000 views on that Muhammad hijab behind the veils in marriage in Islam one, and then 6.7 thousand for the video he posted today. So that's pretty good. So people are watching Sajid. People are watching Sajid. So in other words, AP is right. Because if I hear that YouTube is no longer suggesting videos to me, I would think, okay, maybe people just aren't watching as much and YouTube isn't recommending that person's videos as much in general anymore. But his channel's doing pretty well. So that must have something to do with what AP's talking about.
Yes, absolutely.
This is some good stuff he's been covering. He's been covering some good stuff, man. Good job.
Stuff.
Good job, Sajid. And Sajid's cool because he's got more hikmah. He's got more hikmah than the rest of the Dawah community.
That's true. I mean, with the rest of the Muslim of the Dawah community, we look at them and we think, "Where's the hikmah?
Where's the hikmah?"
Yeah, but then with him, I do see hikmah.
Yeah, it's like, hey, he's got some hikmah.
Yeah,
check out this guy's hikmah.
The absence of hikmah.
Yeah. And because he's got the hikmah, he can spot the lack of it in other people. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like
if
if
you
you
look at others and say they're lacking.
Yeah, it's like if you had huge muscles. If you had huge muscles, you'd be able to look at other people and be like, "Ha, this skinny little wimp has no muscles," because you're familiar with muscles. You know what it's like to have big muscles, and you know these guys don't have it. Likewise, if you have tons of hikmah, you got hikmah falling out your pockets. You got hikmah leaking out your ears. Then you look at some of these low hikmah Dawah guys, and you're like, I don't know everything, but I know these guys are some low hikmah individuals.
Yep. Indeed. He probably goes to the gym to train his hikmah every day.
I don't know how that would work, but that would be a funny sort of video. Like someone finds out he's low hikmah and decides to work out and exercise his hikmah to get more hikmah. But there's a Muslim hikmah gym. That'd be awesome. Oh boy. All right. So anyway, the point is, ladies and gentlemen, these are good times for the Islamic dilemma, bad times for Dawah. Because anytime there's a good time for the Islamic dilemma, it is a bad time for Dawah. So we're going to check out Wes Huff's version of the Islamic dilemma today on Piers Morgan Live. And then we'll see what happens with Sajid and some of the other responses. But these are going to be fun times, ladies and gentlemen. They've tried to avoid this mostly for years. And when they did say something about it, they would give some simple, stupid response that's just meant for their followers, and then heap insults on the argument. Ha ha! This is such a stupid argument. Only a moron would believe in this such a stupid argument. And if they're actually getting to a point where they think they have to seriously address it, they're going to lose, guys. This is an airtight argument. This is as airtight as arguments get in this area. And bad year for Dawah if they start focusing on this. But it's good. It's good they're doing it. I'll take these first couple of super chats and we'll jump into this Wes Huff interview. Asa says, "Love you, boys." Glad someone does, because there are people who don't like us, believe that or not. Could we get a Kate Schumann pick update of Saved P on the thumbnail so he's not his old donkey brain self anymore? It's humiliating.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. You put me on the thumbnail with my previous state, and it looks misleading because people
Oh.
will look at that and will say, "Well, look at this. There's an atheist
Oh, yeah.
and a Christian."
I
This
can
is
put a
good
little
point.
halo over you or something. You want a halo?
No.
No? I can put a little cross on your head or something.
Okay, you could do it. You could do that.
Okay.
That's okay.
Khalas, akhi! Shut up! Shut up! How dare you! I challenge you to mubahala! Humiliate
Wallahi,
you,
akhi.
wallahi!
Wallahi, akhi, khalas, wallahi.
Isn't it funny that someone can post something just basically making fun of Dawa, but it sounds exactly like their most popular da'i right now? That's what this guy actually talks about.
Yeah.
I still got to make my video challenging Mike Winger to mubahala. I got to do that. Pope Mike Wing Bahala. Pope Mike Wing Bahala. What is it? What's all the mubahala stuff? David, please do Piers Morgan talking about AP's challenge of mubahala. Wait. David, please do Piers Morgan talking about AP's challenge of mubahala. I don't think I could do a Piers Morgan voice. I'd have to. Certain voices come naturally, like Richard Dawkins or Ali Dawa or something like that, in terms of you just, you raise yourself to a high leprechaun pitch or something like that, and then you got Ali Dawa. Piers Morgan. No, I can't do it. AP has recently challenged me to mubahala. And now, as a guest, we're going to have this mubahala on my show. That'd be fun. Nope. I'd have to practice, guys.
You have to work on that.
Got to work on that. Do a Muhammad's Boom Boom Room where Momo meets Tolkien or C.S. Lewis. That'll be funny. Or both of them at the same time. Read in Ali Sawa voice. I don't know who that is. You see all the... But I'll do Ali Dawa because I don't know who Ali Sawa is. You see all these Christians that they talk about John the Baptist, but they don't talk about John the Press biter who keeps biting my presses, yeah? Yeah. Why's that guy biting all the presses, man? There's a recent news story about an American who travels the world, danger spots. He went to Afghanistan. He got friendly with his Taliban security. What?
That's funny.
What do you mean friendly? Does not Islam forbid that kind of relationship? Oh, you mean that? Yeah, Islam would, but what happens in Afghanistan stays in Afghanistan. That's the saying.
Exactly.
What happens in the Taliban stays in the Taliban. What if Allah challenges you to mubahala? You see the proof you're too scared to accept. However, the uppermost are still winning. Jesus Akbar. That's true. Hey AP, a really good book recommendation is The Cross of Christ by John Stott.
John Stott.
I read a book by John Stott probably 6 months after I became a Christian. It was awesome. I don't remember what the title was, but I remember it was an awesome book. Hey, you might actually like that. You might actually like that guy. I believe he was an annihilationist, like you.
He was? I'm not an annihilationist. So. I'm not an annihilationist.
Too late. I already said you are. Died in 2011, 90 years old. What is his book?
Anglican.
Oh, yeah, Basic Christianity. That's what it was. Gosh, he wrote that back in 1958. That's a long time. That was a good book. Basic Christianity by John Stott. It was a good book, ladies and gentlemen. I remember reading it. Probably, this would have been 96, probably, 97 at the latest.
The Cross of Christ.
So before most of you were born, before most of you who are watching were born, I was reading John Stott. You understand?
Seems like a very popular and very good book. I will put it on my list. You
heard it here, folks. Apartheid is bad, but if you're Madimi, that's based. That's true. Isn't it funny that, what is apartheid? It's apartheid. It's apartheid. What do you want? We want to humiliate the kuffar and make them second-class citizens. Yeah. And that's good? Yes, of course it is. If music is haram, why did Lila reveal the Zabur? Is King Dailywood exempt? Or did Lila for gore? Also, hi, AP the most humble.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Who's Lila?
Who's Lila?
Who is that? Zabur.
I'm just looking at the list of upcoming popes right now, or possible popes, like pope candidates.
Hold up, is Lila a new term for Allah? So Allah, why did Allah reveal the Zabur?
I don't know.
Psalms.
I don't know.
You'd have to say the Psalms are corrupted, because even if you wanted to say they're meant to just be spoken or something like that, the Psalms are filled with, praise him on the lyre, and praise him on this, and praise him on that. Talking about instruments. Let's see. Have you seen Ortho Muslim's response to the dilemma? He makes a testify like video. You mean the Orthodox Muslim? Dean responds as partner, apparently. I have not seen it. I heard.
Howdy, partner.
I think it was just in a comment or something, but someone said that his response is that what the Quran is, what the Injil is Q. The Injil, he claimed, is Q. I don't know if that's true, but that's what I saw. But no, we will be checking out all of the responses to the Islamic dilemma, and we will go through all of them to show that none of these responses work at all. John the Presbyter says, R.I.P. Pope Francis. Did you see that? What are you laughing at?
Just when we went live, IP also went live.
What's wrong with him, man?
How pathetic, man! He's trying to copy.
Trying to compete with us,
Yeah.
dude. That's like, hey, we've got a new sitcom. Let's put it up against Seinfeld. It's gonna work well for you. Did you see that Oxford Union debate had the topic of whether or not Islam needs reformation? What's your opinion? Can Islam be reformed or moderated? Is that new?
No, it cannot be.
No.
Is that new? Is it?
No, look it up. If it's new, we should go through it, because I'd be interested in some of the speeches on that. If it's old, not so much. If it's new, yeah.
I don't think there's such a new debate.
A nude debate? No, we're not going to cover that, man.
I don't think there's a nude debate.
We're not watching a nude debate.
I said there's not a nude debate. So.
Oh, good. Yeah, because if there was, we wouldn't be covering one on this show.
Okay, good.
We'd watch it ourselves. No.
There's not a nude debate.
That would be funny if they advertised a nude debate, but it's a bunch of like fat old guys who are all nudists, and people are like, "Ooh, a nude debate! Who gets the thieves? What is this? What is this? I can't watch it! Burning my eyeballs out! I'm blind! I'm blind!" Oh, that'd be funny.
Actually, there was a debate about, I think, half a year ago, 4 months ago or so, where they were discussing Islam and whether it needs to reform or not, but it's not exactly titled that. I don't know if this is a repost of things, but I see 4 months ago, Islam reform democracy or something. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Maybe worth looking at. Maybe.
Yeah, that's good. That's recent enough. I was thinking if it was like 2 years ago, I wouldn't have been interested in it. If it's a few months ago, we could check it out. Yeah. We'll have to check that out and see if we want to cover it. Asaf says, hi, AP and D Wood. I am Jewish, and I told a Muslim friend of mine that we actually believe in Ezra, and his eyes opened up. Guys, that should be a new thing among Jews, to send messages to Muslims or to whisper in Muslims' ears. Hey, if you're a Jew and you're in a safe area and stuff like this, where you're not going to be attacked or something, just, as you're walking by your Muslim friend, just go, "Hail Ezra," and then walk away, right? Or get a little video clip of two Jews walking by each other, and as they walk by each other, one of them goes, "Hail Ezra," and the other goes, "Hail Ezra," and they keep walking. That's all you need. That's all you need for the conspiracy theories to just blow up. It would be funny, though. We actually believe in Ezra. 1 Kings 18:24, Elijah challenging Baal's priests to Mubahala. If so, does that mean the Jews are the real Muslims? Because Muslims should be saying that. Man, listen, bro. You're talking about a Mubahala? Elijah invented the Mubahala, man. The real Mubahala. And it's not like you guys where you just sit around and nothing ever happens, and then you start having to go, "Well, you got a cold 8 years after being in the Mubahala, so you see this is the curse of Allah."
I didn't even know that actually appears in the Bible.
What?
But it's true.
Well, oh yeah. Elijah. Yep. He rolled up on all of them, called down fire from heaven.
Then you call on the name of your God, and I will call on the name of the Lord, the God who answers by fire. He is God.
And then he was mocking the crap out of him. He's like, where's your God? Is he on a journey? Is he relieving himself? Some of the translations cover up that he's basically asking, is your God in the bathroom or something like that. Pretty funny. Good times. R.I.P. Pope Francis. AP left. That is messed up. I sat there and read a comment saying, "Rest in peace, Pope Francis," and then you crack up laughing because you're reading someone else, but it sounded like you're cracking up laughing.
I didn't even hear that you said that.
You hear that, guys? Okay. I'm gonna give a redo where AP doesn't crack up laughing horribly, right after I say, "Rest in peace, Pope Francis." Okay, ready? Here was the comment. It says AP's do-over. Pope Francis would agree that AP should get a second chance. All right. From John the Pressbiter. Rest in peace, Pope Francis.
Rest in peace.
There we go. All right, guys. All right. So we had
it's funny. I actually, when he died, the morning that I found out, I made a post. I actually posted, "Rest in peace, beautiful soul," because I genuinely always had respect for the Pope. I genuinely always had respect for Pope Francis. I always thought that he's a good man, who gave his who dedicated his life to God and to his community and so on. The comment section was really incredible. I didn't even respond anymore. I just looked at the comment section and looked at people like, "No, he's the devil. He's Satan himself. How dare you? It's good that he's dead, and this is the only person whose death I'm happy about," and so on. People were really getting mad about that, but it's kind of weird. Lots of things that were said about him were just completely twisted and taken out of context. Yeah, of course, here and there he may have said or done certain things that might not be considered fantastic.
No, he did some screwed up stuff, man. What?
Such as his advocacy for open borders and things like that. But that said, he was a good man who was devoted to God and his community, and I respect him. So,
and in an extreme left direction on certain issues. And I'm saying that I generally don't speak ill of the dead, especially right after they died. But he did after the Charlie Hebdo massacre. He's asked about it. Hey, what about all these guys getting killed over cartoons? And he said, well, if you come up and say something about my mother, don't be surprised when you get punched in the face. And it's like, that sounds like you're justifying. That sounds like justifying murdering cartoonists. And so stuff like that.
That's pretty bad.
Yeah. So the issue, but I have to say, I'm kind of on your page at I think he was basically a really nice guy who went in a wrong direction due to some political affiliations along the way and stuff like that, as opposed to someone who's just like bad, just bad by nature or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah. Now the interesting issue is if for some reason they don't make you the new pope. Some of the contenders, some of the names being recommended for the new pope. We should do a show on this. We should do a show. You should put together a show on who the candidates are for being the next pope. Because a couple of them are pretty based guys who've been warning about Islamization of Europe and stuff like that. It's like, whoa, if you get one of those guys, if you get someone who's actually, this would be a good time, ladies and gentlemen. This would be a good time to get a solid pope who has some common sense and some understanding about the dangers of Islam. This would be a good time for it. Or you could go in the other direction and say, no, we need someone who's even more pro-Islam and even more pro-Hamas.
I know that people are talking about, lots of people are talking about one certain cardinal, Cardinal Sarah is his last name. He's considered very conservative, very traditionalist, and so on. And people are like, yeah, we want him next. Lots of people who say we want him next are also non-Catholic, so it's kind of weird. But I don't think that he's actually. I think that he's not actually at the top of candidates who are considered for pope. He's also very old, but there are some who are better in terms of politics. That said, I don't know. We'll just see what happens.
Interesting. Every Muslim I challenge in a debate from now on, I'm challenging them to a hotel mubahala. It just sounds confusingly serious. AP for Pope. That would be funny. Mohammed Hijab. Oh, all these girls who are disagreeing with me, I challenge them all to a hotel mubahala. That's where we meet in the hotel room, and I bang them. What is this religion, man? From Last Spicy Ramen, my new Jewish amigo got baptized in Eastern Orthodox with name George, celebrated today. By the way, AP, we'll help you fill out that bookshelf. Christ is risen.
Nice. I already have enough books, man.
Lots of baptisms lately. I just posted. I was like, every time I open up, I go on X. It's like, hey, I just got baptized. Hey, I'm getting baptized. Hey, I'm getting baptized. Hey, I'm getting baptized this weekend.
Even Pew Research posted about, wrote about an article about how the decline of Christianity among the youth seems to have come to a halt, and so things seem to be in a reversal right now at the moment. Christianity is becoming popular. There was just recently an article on how Gen Z is more attentive to church stuff than before. There were articles about how the average church is significantly fuller than it was years ago. So there is some reversal happening. I don't know why. Probably because of me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You. Mm-hmm. No. I made a video about this. One, you've got the avalanche of apostasy going on in Islam, but basically, tons of people are finding out about Islam, and the more people find out about Islam, the less attractive it will seem to potential converts and so on, and the more people are going to leave. But then in the realm of the new atheism, which had a ton of momentum for a while, they made the mistake of making some predictions about what would happen if millions of people became atheists. Society's going to become more rational, more logical, more scientific, and so on. None of it happened. And people, even if they're not like putting it together in argument form in their heads, you're just observing it. It's like, this is not the way you said it was going to go. It's not. And so they kind of, they've lost their momentum. And now you've got a ton of people who are kind of looking around going, And then simultaneously with all that, people are looking around going, man, as Christianity gets weaker, other really bad things tend to step up. So you know what? I don't think we realized how good we had it back in the day. And I've said before, guys, it's not a situation like every generation wants to say, back in the good old days when everything was right and everything was wonderful. There's no real like good old days where everything was right. What you had what I will say is sort of a characteristic feature of having a strong Christian community in a country is it sort of provides a framework for real progress. That's what you get. It doesn't mean everything is fixed. There's always things that aren't fixed. There are always problems and so on. But you see a pattern of having a good, strong Christian nation, a good, strong Christian population, and you see that population tends to fix things whenever they can. And it makes for societies that consistently improve. Let's see, a couple more real quick. We've got a couple more, and then we will jump into this video. My 37-year-old son is being baptized on May 18th. What? I just said about it. We got all these baptisms coming up. Francis also said that there are multiple ways to heaven while speaking to a multi-faith gathering. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Jesus said he is the only way, so he may be answering for a few things right now. Yeah, I don't know what he said, but that would be interesting what he meant. Catholic here, pray for the soul of Pope Francis. Yes, he was a nice guy, but he got really bad advice and made stupid remarks, especially about Islam. Well, it sucks because you can't fault people entirely for making stupid remarks about Islam, since almost everyone in every position of power is conditioned to do it.
True.
Mubahala shot caller. Wanna be a Mubahala shot caller, 20-inch blades. What if we put Mubahala at the end? We say, wanna be a baller, shot caller, 20-inch blades on the Mubahala. I think that works better. Remember when Ali Dawah got AP to do Mubahala and proceeded to outwit and humiliate him on how AP as an atheist couldn't do it? Yes, that was classic Ali Dawah. Totally humiliated AP. AP didn't know what, AP was just stunned. AP was like this. He didn't know what to do. He didn't even know what to do. So, hey, let's reenact it. Yo, so cool. Let's find out if you actually ready to face me, yeah? I challenge you to Mubahala, bro. Let's do the Mubahala, isn't it?
Okay. Let's do that.
Oh my goodness. Hey, Smells the Jenna, go over here and grape me in my mouth right now, yeah? Cause this guy, he don't even believe in God. Him don't even believe in God, but he ready to do the Mubahala. Yo, grape me in my mouth, girl. Oh boy, what is this religion, man? Obviously, Nick Fuentes should be the next pope. Yep, that is the message from Groypers everywhere. Pope Francis protected notorious child molesters in the church. Really? Also very friendly towards the Chinese regime. Very shameful. Miss old Benedict. Benedict was a bit more based, I have to say that. But yeah, I don't know about the rest of the stuff that's been going on. Who am I? Jesus asked. Peter answered, you are the Son of God. Then Jesus started choking Peter, shouting, you fool, how can Allah have a son if he doesn't have a mate? John the Press by a 269. The uncorrupted
How can you
Injil.
answer such an argument? You see?
They can't. We can't answer it. It's too powerful. It's too powerful. Too powerful. And then we have, I never agreed with the Pope, but rest in peace. All right, guys, let's go ahead and jump into this video. So this is already, how far is this? It's probably 2/3 of the way through the Piers Morgan interview with Wes Huff. But this is where Piers brings up Islam. Piers wants to discuss Islam.
What are your thoughts about Islam?
Tell us about Islam. Here we go.
Wesley, as we approach Easter, why do you think Christianity is getting less popular as Islam is now the fastest growing religion in the world?
What planet is he on, Christian? What is he? Are you saying this from 10 years ago, Piers?
We just found out that Islam is the fastest growing religion. Can you explain to us why this is?
Yes, Pew Research just posted a study saying that Islam is the fastest growing religion. When, Piers? When? Have you seen the churches? To be fair, this interview was posted right before Easter, so maybe Piers didn't get the news on how packed churches are and how many baptisms are going on right now. But
I have to say, when I went to church for Easter, which is fantastic, and as said, it's like it takes place at midnight in the Orthodox Church, and the church was full. It was like there was almost no place to stand left. It was completely overcrowded. There were so many people there. And people around the world are saying similar things about how their churches were full on
Saw that
Easter.
all over Twitter. Everyone is posting that.
Reports are saying it, news are saying it. So,
and then the same thing was true of our church. We went to the early service, which is the 9:30. More people go to the 11 because it's a little later. But even at the 9 o'clock service, as you're walking in, they were going, okay, how many people in your group? And they're having to find spots for people. Oh, you've got 5 and stuff. Okay, well, we got a spot over here for 5 people and so on. And then it was crazy. I had no idea what my pastor's background was. He started talking about how messed up things were, and how he actually became a Christian. So he actually shared his testimony. I'd never seen it. And me and my wife left, and then she goes, I used to think you had the most messed up childhood I ever heard of, but I think he's got you beat. I'm thinking, whoa, I didn't know we were in a competition to see who's the messed ups, who had the most messed up background. But I've got some stuff I've been keeping in my back pocket that I haven't even told you. So gonna have to have the battle. Anyway. All right, so Piers Morgan is completely out of touch with reality and is apparently conducting this interview from 10 years ago. But he's asking Wes about why so many people are becoming Muslims and leaving Christianity.
Yeah, I think there are a few kind of sociological factors that we can look at with that. I don't necessarily think that Islam is growing because of conversions. I think that Islam is outpacing us in terms of birth rate and immigration.
Good point. I made that point years ago. And by the way, for everyone who's the same Pew Research article that Muslims point to because they read the title. They read the title about Islam being the fastest growing religion. That exact same Pew Research study says exactly what Wes just said. It's because of birth rates. It's because of birth rates. As far as conversions go, and keep in mind, that was even before the avalanche of apostasy. But as far as conversions go, Islam is not gaining in places like America. In other words, the number of people who convert to Islam is offset by the number of people leaving Islam. Islam is not growing because of conversions. Islam is growing because of high birth rates among Muslims and immigration. So if you wanted to make an argument for Islam being true based on that, you'd have to say something about because of Islam's impact on women, turning women into baby-making machines, having polygamous marriages, creating more babies, starting girls off much younger so that they have more babies and so on. This means that Islam is true. And if you want to make that argument, I'd love to see it, but that sounds like a really terrible argument. You're basically saying since Islam turns women into baby-making machines and that's it, that's all they have to look forward to, therefore it's true. And that sounds like a really bad argument.
So if we look at traditionally Christianized countries, the birth rates are lower. People in the West are having less children. And in fact, if you look at kind of the statistics of Christian growth, I think...
What's up?
It's fewer children, not less children.
And Wes Huff claims to be a scholar.
It's fewer. Just like Hitler.
Wes Huff, you are being corrected by a barely literate Turkish immigrant on your English. How's that feel? How's that feel? How's that feel, Piers? How's that feel, Piers Morgan? Sitting here, oh, we've got an expert on our show, and who do you get? Some guy who doesn't even know the difference between less and fewer. My goodness, this changed my view of Wes Huff.
We're actually seeing a movement to the global south of Christian conversions, where in places like Asia and Africa, you're seeing a growth of Christianity.
That's true.
And religious observance in that sense. Whereas you see a lot of the importing of Islam into Western countries. And so I wouldn't go as far as saying that Islam is growing because lots of people are converting. I would actually say that largely we're just being outbred in terms of the growth rates with people having children and the amount of people who are coming into places like the UK, the United States, Europe, and Canada that come from majority Muslim countries.
But somewhere like the UK, for example, I mean, church going has been, pretty rapidly reducing, I'd say, in terms of the general population now for several decades. People just don't go to church like they used to. What do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think that we saw a shift when it was much more culturally acceptable, whether you truly believed in, say, a convictional Christianity or not, in decades past. You would just go to church. That was definitely true here in Canada. We even had laws like the Lord's Day Act, which made...
I always forget that he's Canadian, even though his accent is noticeably Canadian. But he always reminds me, every sentence. Well, here in Canada,
it illegal to open a business on a Sunday. And so there was just more of a cultural zeitgeist for Christianity. And as that waned, I think the cultural zeitgeist, it became much more comfortable for people to then not go to church and attend. So I don't think we actually saw a great kind of influx of people leaving the church as much as the people who were convictional Christians continued to go to church, and people who were more cultural Christians or Christians out of convenience, because that was just what you did within the overall day-to-day of society, those people left. And so statistically, it looked like there were a lot of people leaving the church, when I don't necessarily think that was the case. I think the culture moved, and everyone else just kind of moved with the culture, and where once it was acceptable and just kind of more of the norm to go to and attend a church on a Sunday, when it was no longer the norm, those people just followed the norm of the society.
But by the way, that is exactly, AP, this connects to what you were talking about. For years, there was a steady decline in the number of people who identify as Christians. And then for the past few years, it's been going up. The interpretation of that was that the decline was among Christians who basically didn't take it seriously. They're in a Christian house. They, back in the day, you'd go to church and that was just normal and so on. But then as it became okay to not go to church and stuff, people who weren't taking it seriously stopped going and then stopped identifying as Christians. So in other words, the people who were falling away were people who weren't taking it very seriously to begin with. And then but eventually those people are gone. And what do you have that remains? You have a population of people who take it seriously. And then as things change and so on, and those people are going around preaching and then telling all the people, hey, why don't you look at how things are going? Then the numbers start going back up. In other words, this wasn't some massive falling away of Christianity. This was, and matter of fact, there was a Harvard study. This was like 15 years ago. And it said that the number of people who are identifying as Christian was falling, but the people who were committed Christians was actually simultaneously increasing. So it's a smaller number of people who are actually like committed Christians. And you judge that by things like how many times a day, how many times per week do you read the Bible, or how many times, how many church services do you, how consistent are you in going to church and things like that. But the people who are committed Christians was actually growing. And it was just the people who were kind of, cultural Christians, those numbers were falling. So once again, Wes Huff is correct here.
I actually think we're seeing somewhat of a resurgence in that Bible sales have skyrocketed in the last couple of years. I think we're seeing individuals
which is because of me,
come into the limelight and are bringing a Christian message in a much more overt way where we didn't see before. People who are popular, if they're not Christian, are bringing kind of a spotlight on Christianity. People like Jordan Peterson or Joe Rogan, who I think are much more sympathetic to Christianity. And so, although I do think we've seen that cultural shift where it's just become less culturally acceptable to go to church, and so those people are no longer attending church, I actually think we are seeing, Piers, kind of a grassroots movement that's very interesting in terms of people who might have been more interested in the new atheism 10 years ago, actually saying, I think there's something about this Christianity thing, and they're doing things like reading the Bible or attending a church on Sunday when they otherwise wouldn't have.
Catching that, everyone? He seems correct. Seems correct about what's going on here. Let's see.
There's no doubt, for example, that President Donald Trump,
everything's got to be about Trump with this guy.
Faith was massively cemented. I think he's been quite open about this, by surviving an assassin's bullet last summer. And he talked about how he started praying more and everything else. And that, he's got a massive following in America, obviously, the big MAGA movement. Do you think that's been partly one of the reasons why you're seeing a resurgence of interest in Christianity in America, sales of Bibles and so on, when the president is out there talking in the way that Trump has been doing?
I think that's a possibility. I think we're probably seeing a multivalent issue going on in that I don't know if there's any kind of one factor. I think there are convening factors. I think we live in a very tumultuous world where we're sort of the onslaught and prevalence of just the information online is bringing attention to questions of meaning and purpose and morality. I think we're kind of coming to the end of our rope with some of the subjectivity of objective truth in this world. And I actually think that a lot of the seeds that were planted by the new atheists in the early 2000s ended up growing into trees that produced fruit that really didn't give any nourishment. And so I think people are seeing that, and we're seeing a resurgence at minimum of people who are becoming quote unquote spiritual but not religious, but also looking at what something like Christianity or organized religion has to offer and saying, I think there's something there that actually can ground me, that I can plant my feet firmly on, rather than kind of the planting my feet firmly in midair that atheism was offering. But
that sounds kind of like what you've been saying. That sort of just looking and saying, hey, maybe there's something more to this religion thing than I thought, and maybe I need to check it out and not have my feet planted in midair. But then before that, he broke it down differently, but it was the same idea with the new atheists. Because I said basically these guys set up their claims and they're making predictions. If you want a better world, just get more atheists and the world will become better. It will become more scientific. It will become more rational. And then we look, none of that happened. Not one prediction of the new atheism ever came true at all. In fact, everything was massively, massively disconfirmed by the evidence, which means they had no clue what they were talking about and their views should be just completely discarded. He broke it down in terms of the new atheists were planting seeds. And then notice it takes a while. It's like, hey, let's plant some seeds over here. We're gonna go plant some seeds in the ground and watch. We're gonna plant some seeds of atheism, and it's gonna grow into the greatest thing ever. And it says it grows into a tree, and so he tied it in with by their fruits you will know them, saying, hey, the tree grew, the fruits have been produced, and we're looking at it going, hey, this is disgusting, man. This is disgusting. No one wants your nasty fruit. Get out of here. Get out of here, atheists. That's what he's saying.
I think
Why
there is
why do you get so loud all of a sudden?
Did I get loud?
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah. Okay.
You're good.
Am I loud? Okay, so there has been a thing at the beginning of the whole atheist trend that happened. There was this curiosity because people are suddenly exposed to social media and are exposed to each other's opinions everywhere, and they see this surge in people identifying as atheists and in rejecting religion and rejecting Christianity and saying, "Oh, church bad, sky daddy, sky daddy, sky daddy," and so on. So it's just an initial reaction of people discovering that they can now talk to each other and then finding something cool and something interesting and expressing how they are so cool for not believing in the thing that everybody learns. But it's just a trend, I feel like the trend has very dramatically died out and slowed down. And it's not remotely popular. There is no longer an atheist scene online. There was an atheist. There was a phase where atheism was the online thing. There was this new atheism going on. There was people were identifying as atheists. They were saying atheist, thinking, questioning, atheist-based cosmic atheist, and so on. It's gone.
Based cosmic atheist.
It was a very short phase of curiosity and of expression. It's like the whole punk era, and then it's suddenly
It's a fad.
it's gone because it's not cool anymore. It's not
Yeah.
cool anymore. It's like it's pretty old, man. We got it. You're an atheist. It's not good. It's not cool anymore. Now people are going back to their roots. Maybe, I don't know.
And it's funny. Someone shared it. Someone shared this. I guess maybe a month or two ago, and then I shared it on Twitter. But it was what someone said is, believe it or not, this was peak atheism 15 years ago. It was a video from an atheist on a popular atheist channel like 15 years ago, and the guy was like, "That's right, atheists, we now run the internet. There's nowhere for these Christians to go because we're hunting them down and crushing them. Look at the views. Look over here. Oh my goodness, they're all running. Where are they? They got nowhere. We swarm all over them." And he was just running his mouth constantly about how they're winning and there's no place for Christians to hide and so on. And it's I think I posted something like this aged like yogurt in the Sahara Desert or something. I posted something like that, but it was very interesting because it's like you're running your mouth, man. Here we are 15 years later. Where are you at? Yo, atheists, where you at?
Where you at?
Where you at? Where you at?
It is really the narrative was really like oh look how many people are identifying as atheists, the religion is dying. Soon everybody will be atheist. Atheism is the new thing, it's taking over, bro, and all that. It's like, no, it doesn't really go like that.
Nope, that was a fad, ladies and gentlemen. You still have atheists, but the new atheism was a fad.
A new atheism.
Like bell-bottom jeans.
It was just the zeitgeist,
Mm-hmm. And here we have Wes.
Even though it was giving me maybe some superficial solace, it didn't actually give me the ability to say that I had objective truth and meaning and value.
You've seen the likes of Andrew Tate, a big influence on young.
Hey, you see this? You see this? This is what I was just saying, but I was saying it about Muhammad Hijab and the other guys that Piers has got on his channel. Every time Tate comes on there, Tate humiliated Piers Morgan. Guess what, guys? Piers still has his channel, and Piers can always bring up Andrew Tate in other contexts and so on. So careful who you annoy. Now, keep in mind, Piers isn't going to destroy anyone with an interview or something like that. But again, it's just you give someone a negative impression, and that's a guy who can, just over time, in the relevant context, bring up the issue and allow other people to respond to you and take a shot at you.
It's kind of a stupid thing, though. Like, why would you bring up Andrew Tate here? It's like, you can see at Huff's face there. This is the second time that somebody's like completely randomly out of nowhere bringing up Andrew Tate. The last time I think this happened when he was on what's his name?
Was it PBD? He always brings him up.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, PBD. He was there and he just
why is the entire world bowing at the feet of Andrew Tate? I'm so confused.
And what do you think about my friend Andrew Tate? He has been saying this. And Andrew Tate, and Westhoff was like, yeah, sure. But here again, it's like randomly being brought up.
Yeah.
This was an issue like, I don't know, 2 years ago. Piers, get with the times, man.
Yeah, so on the one hand, Piers, get over it. On the other hand, Andrew Tate, Muhammad Hijab, you guys make enemies over time. And sometimes those enemies can give people an opportunity to take a shot at you. With that said, Wes Huff's a nice guy, so he's not going to be too brutal here. I don't even know what he's about to say. But poor Andrew. Who cares? I mean, who cares anymore about Andrew Tate? But anyway, isn't that weird, though? You've got a guy who, like, studies Bible manuscripts and stuff like that and discusses those. And then it's like, what do you think about Andrew Tate? It's like, hey, look, I'm looking at this. I'm looking at P52 here. I'm looking at this papyrus manuscript. What's your question? What about Andrew Tate? Interesting.
Men in particular are converting to Islam. Do you find that a convincing conversion? Or do you think he's doing it for commercial reasons?
You're asking Wes Huff. Does he think Andrew Tate's conversion to Islam was genuine? What does that have to do with anything? I don't know. This is right before Easter, but this is an example. This is Piers still being ticked off about Andrew Tate and saying, let me just give someone an opportunity to take a shot at Andrew Tate and question whether he is a real Muslim.
Yeah, I'm not sure what to think of Andrew Tate, because as someone who is very well aware of kind of the theological intricacies of Islam, he's sort of an anomaly in that he will give lip service to certain things within the framework of traditional Sunni orthodoxy within Islam, but then also kind of doesn't adhere to other ones. So I'm not really sure what to do with Andrew Tate. He's certainly not someone I would point to as a moral standard. Not that I think necessarily Islam is the place to look for him.
Not because I think Islam is the place to look for. All I was thinking here is, hey, is everyone sending this clip to Andrew Tate and demanding that he declare war on Wes Huff? Hey, Andrew Tate, where you at? Wes Huff here talking trash about you.
That'd be funny.
And let me address this Wes Huff directly. What color is your Bugatti?
It's
how many cam girls do you have, Wes Huff?
Andrew Tate was trending the other day because people were pointing out how he published a video of working out at home in front of his laptop. And he sits there and he smokes, has a drink, and quickly lifts, and then continues working or something. But the whole scene just looks so gay. It's like the gayest thing ever.
And it's extremely gay. It's let me prance around in my Daisy Dukes all day, and let all of my teenage boy fans just look at look at me the entire time in my Daisy Dukes. It's like
People were
seriously?
saying like this is the gayest thing I've ever seen. Man.
It is, and here's the thing. I mean, at least it's degenerate and stuff, but at least when he was surrounded by girls in bikinis, and you could be like, okay, we're teenage boys, and we're watching this for all the girls in bikinis, and to understand how we too can be this guy surrounded by girls in bikinis. But then they get to the point where they're just watching Andrew Tate work out. Like, oh, look at him, Andrew Tate. Oh, look at his Daisy Dukes. Oh, look at his chest. Oh, look at his behind. Oh, it's like, dude, what are you guys doing, man? What did he condition you into becoming? He conditioned you to be in love with him. That's pretty creepy stuff. All right, let me back this up because don't want to interrupt him talking about Islam here. What did he say?
Doesn't adhere to other ones. So I'm
What?
not
First you interrupt him, and then you say you don't want to interrupt him.
That's right. And then I got to back it. I got to back this thing up.
really sure what to do with Andrew Tate. He's certainly not someone I would point to as a moral standard. Not that I think necessarily Islam is the place to look for a moral standard in general, but Andrew Tate is a bit of an anomaly, although clearly risen to fame because he's so outlandish and a little bit more boisterous in the things.
I think it's funny that Wes Huff will be like super nice, but simultaneously he's like dissing Islam and stuff. Not necessarily, because I would think that Islam is a moral standard for anything. I mean, and your prophet was banging a little girl, but he'll still be nice the entire time. It's pretty funny, man. He gets away with it. That's awesome. So you got people like us who are mean, and everyone knows we're mean, and you got guys who are super nice, who could get away with saying something that would be mean if it were coming from us, but it still sounds nice coming from him. It's awesome stuff. I think here's where we get into the Islamic dilemma. What's that?
This is how he got how he blew up with debunking that one guy's name. What was his name again?
Billy Carson.
Billy Carson.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's why he was nice the entire time.
Yeah, he was so nice and he was so gentle while completely destroying him. That's why he went viral.
That's interesting. I think I'm looking at the time because I did look around for the Islamic dilemma because I saw Cameron Bertuzzi made a video out of it, and so I looked for where they were talking about the Islamic dilemma. I think it was here, although I could be wrong. I could be looking at the wrong time here.
The text of the Quran, like all religious texts, including the Bible, has been misused, misinterpreted, or accurately interpreted, depending on who you talk to. From a historian perspective, how accurate do you think the Quran is, for example?
How accurate is the Quran? Okay, so I don't know if he's going. I may be wrong about this, but I don't recall this when I was looking for the Islamic dilemma section. Let's see. Maybe he jumps into there real quick, but this is different. I thought this is where he started the Islamic dilemma. Let's see where he goes.
Well, I think the Quran has a number of problematic historical issues, the chief of which is that Surah 4:157 denies the historical crucifixion of Jesus. And so there's ambiguity as to what's going on.
Oh, Cameron did include that in his video, I think, because Surah 4 verse 157, that's kind of part of the argument for the Islamic dilemma, that on the one hand, you show that the Quran affirms the inspiration, the preservation, and the authority of the Jewish and Christian scriptures, and yet you show that it contradicts the Jewish and Christian scriptures. So Surah 4, verse 157, most Muslims regard that as denying the crucifixion of Jesus, and so that's how you would show that there is an actual dilemma here. But
in that text, when it says that Jesus was neither killed nor was he crucified, and I think that really paints the historical reliability of the Quran into a corner, in that, like I said before, Piers, if there's one thing that even the most skeptical scholars historically will say, if they say we really can know not that much about Jesus of Nazareth, they will admit and say what we can know is that he did die under the reign of Pontius Pilate, the governor of Judea at that time, that he was indeed crucified. And so I find the Quran has a number of very problematic historical issues. And then ultimately, as a Christian, the Quran seems to talk about what I believe, talks about the Torah and the gospel multiple times, and seems to fundamentally not understand what the Torah and the gospel are.
You guys got that? So he's setting it up here. Quran talks about the Torah and the Gospel without understanding what the Torah and the Gospel really are, and yet it's affirming them. But here we go. I think this is the Islamic dilemma section.
Particularly, I would highlight verses like chapter 5, verse 46 and 47, which has this chain of custody where it says that Allah sent, that God sent, following in the footsteps, Jesus, the son of Mary, to confirm the Torah which came before him, and that he gave the gospel, which in the Quran uses the same terminology for the revelation of the Quran, that it has guidance and light, and that the gospel preceded the Torah for instruction in righteousness. And then verse 47 of chapter 5 of the Quran actually addresses me as a Christian. It says, let the people of the gospel judge by what God has revealed therein, being the gospel, and whoever does not judge by what God has revealed, then it is he who's the defiantly disobedient. And
guys, learn that verse. If I were to pick 3 verses to learn with the Islamic dilemma, 547 would be one. That is where Allah commands Christians to judge by the gospel. It's just a few verses after Surah 5, verse 43, where Jews are told that they have to judge by the Torah. So you look at the progression of the passage. Jews, you judge by the Torah. Christians, you judge by the gospel. And Muhammad and his followers, they follow the Quran. And Allah even says in verse 48 that he gave different laws to different communities so that they would be separate communities and that they could all compete with each other in good works. And so he wanted the different revelations, and he orders the people who have the different books to follow their own books. You don't, as a Jew, you don't go to Muhammad. As a Jew, you go to the Torah. As a Christian, you don't go to Muhammad. As a Christian, you go to the gospel. As a Muslim, you go to the Quran. Why is this relevant? Well, 2 reasons. One, it's completely different from what Muslims say. Oh, nope, all the other scriptures are all corrupted and outdated and have nothing to do with anything, and everyone just needs to believe in the Quran and follow the Quran now. Completely different from what Allah says in the Quran. So who are we supposed to believe? Muslims, you, or Allah? Because what Allah says is completely different from what you say. And the other issue is that by affirming the inspiration and the preservation and the authority of the Jewish and Christian scriptures, and yet contradicting those scriptures on basic doctrines, the Quran puts itself into a very awkward position. It affirms scriptures that contradict itself. And that leads to a dilemma, because there's 2 possibilities. Either Jews and Christians have the inspired, preserved, authoritative word of God, or we don't. If we have the inspired, preserved, authoritative word of God, Islam is false, because Islam contradicts our scriptures on basic doctrines. So if we have the word of God, Islam is false. On the other hand, if we don't have the inspired, preserved, authoritative word of God, Islam is false, because the Quran affirms the inspiration and the preservation and the authority of the Jewish and Christian scriptures. So that's the argument. If we have the word of God, Islam is false. If we don't have the word of God, Islam is false. Wes formulates the argument a little bit differently. All he says is, the Quran tells me as a Christian that I'm supposed to judge by the gospel. That's what it tells me to do. The Quran says I have to judge by the gospel. And yet, if I obey the Quran, I'm judging by the gospel. What's my opinion of Islam supposed to be if I'm judging by the gospel? Well, Islam and the Quran and Muhammad contradict the gospel on basic teachings. And therefore, if I obey the Quran, I have to reject the Quran. That's how he formulates it. Very nice argument, guys. If you bring up this argument with a Muslim friend, if you bring up the argument as he just gave it, or you use a simple version from one of my videos, there are Muslim responses. Muslims will respond. They'll say, oh, Surah 2, verse 79. Oh, Surah 3, verse 78. Oh, in Surah 5, verse 48, it uses the word Muhaymin. Now, let me just make up a bunch of translations that have nothing to do with what the word actually means. And then they'll say, oh, but, the Injil's given to Jesus. You guys don't have a book given to Jesus, and therefore you don't have the Injil. These are their responses that you'll hear over and over again. So you give a simple version of the argument, as Wes just gave, or as I give sometimes. They do have some responses. All those responses fail terribly once you actually look into them. And so that will be giving you responses to all of this year. Guys, this is the year of the Islamic dilemma. We want everyone to know about this argument this year. We want Muslims to give their best responses to it this year. And we want to show the entire world there's no escaping the Islamic dilemma, which is why it's awesome that you've got Wes Huff right here going through it on Piers Morgan Live.
So I find a problem with the Quran in that.
What'd you say?
You know what you should be doing?
What?
You say this is the year of the Islamic dilemma. What you should be doing In fact, everyone would probably agree here that this would be a fantastic, bombastic, amazing thing to do.
They call me Mr. Bombastic.
Fantastic. You should be.
How do you do Shaggy better than I do, man? I'm telling you, when we started doing shows together years ago, if someone had predicted AP will actually be good at doing impressions, I'd have been like, "Are you drunk, man? Come on, this guy's going to be the worst at doing impressions ever." And yet you crush it, man. Huh? Wasn't me.
Oh. Yeah, Mr. Lower. So what you should be doing is, you say this is the year of the Islamic dilemma. What you should be doing is, everyone could agree that this would be an amazing thing. You should be writing a book that is very short, a book that isn't very long, that's not more than 100 pages, a book that is very short, that is simply titled The Islamic Dilemma, the absolute proof that Islam is false. You should be writing this book, David, and you should be laying out the argument in a very clear way so that there is one formula, one single way to lay it out for everyone. And then you should dedicate the rest of the book, after you have laid out the argument, to refuting all the objections and all the answers that are brought up to this. So this is what you should be doing. This would be very simple to do. You could do this so easily. You could publish this easily, and it would sell brutally, and everyone would have it handy. You should be doing this right now.
You know what's funny, AP, is I already wrote half of it like 10 years ago. It wasn't titled that. It was called The Islamic Dilemma, and then I broke it into two sections: defining the dilemma and deploying the dilemma. So here's how, taking people through the Quran and so on. That's the part I was working on. Then deploying the dilemma was going to be how you use it in all these various situations and so on. In fact, and then as I was working on that, it's Nabil who told me, I said, "Hey, I'm working on a book on the Islamic dilemma." And Nabil said, he goes, "No, you should write your testimony book before that." He says, because that's the advice he got. You put out your testimony book first, because that's the book that's going to do best of anything you ever put out there. And then he said, and then all your other books, people are going to get them and they know who you are because your testimony book. He says, so do that first. So I actually stopped work on that. I didn't finish that because Nabil told me don't do that until I put out a testimony book, which I've never done. But reading the room and seeing what was going on with Dawah, I had the same idea. We got to popularize the Islamic dilemma, get back to that book. That was part of the reason for this recent Quran project. I wanted to make sure that every verse in the Quran that has anything to do with this is addressed. And so got a community of people going through it with me in case I miss everything. Because I'm a little, I'm not obsessive compulsive, but I'm a little, if I want to say, here's everything the Quran says, I want to be accurate, and I don't want someone come along later, oh, you missed Surah, 2 verses this or something like that. Want to be completely accurate. But yes, part of the outcome of this project will be, over the next couple of months, we've gone through everything. We've gone through every verse of the Quran. I have a complete list and can know that this is the most thorough information people can have on this. But yeah, that'll be out.
I have to say,
although you said under 100 pages, this will probably be 150 at the rate, if I recall. But I agree with you. There should be a short version.
Should be a short version. In fact, it should be the beginning is just you introducing the dilemma and laying the argument out, the contradiction out for everyone to easily access. So make it as accessible as possible so that everyone can look at it and see it and have it right in front of them. This will make people learn a wonderful argument, and this will be your baby. And after that section, you could go into expanding upon it, on each aspect of it, lengthily, right? Once you have the short part, the summary, you can go into expanding on it, and then you can deal with all of the responses to it. You put it out there. I'm giving you a fantastic idea. This will be your first actual book. Everyone will buy it. And everyone will say David Wood is the one who brought this, who turned this amazing thing into a book. Look, he's so based. He's the most based person ever. Yeah. And which is why The most important thing, however, about this, I would say the most important detail, which you cannot miss, must be to write a short acknowledgement page at the beginning and credit me for this.
I'd like to thank AP for inventing the Islamic dilemma and for encouraging me to write this book. Hey, I do like your idea of having like at the beginning, like a good chapter that gives like the heart of the argument and then expanding on it later. Because then you could tell people, guys, here's the book. Here's the book. I understand lots of you might not want to read an entire book on the Islamic dilemma, but it's arranged appropriately. At least read the first chapter and learn the first chapter. Christians around the world, there always needs to be someone in every Christian community, in every church, who knows that much of the argument. This needs to become common knowledge. For those of you who want to dig deeper, there's the rest of the book.
Yes.
That would be good. That's a good idea.
Alhamdulillah.
It's your first good idea ever.
Thanks.
Let me back this up a little bit because Wes was cooking here.
Light, and that the gospel
go back
preceded
to where did he start this?
the Torah, and the gospel
Where did he start this?
has a number of very problematic historical issues. And then ultimately, as a Christian, the Quran seems to talk about what I believe, talks about the Torah and the gospel multiple times, and seems to fundamentally not understand what the Torah and the gospel are.
That's true.
Particularly, I would highlight verses like chapter 5, verse 46 and 47, which has this chain of custody where it says that Allah sent, that God sent, following in the footsteps, Jesus, the son of Mary, to confirm the Torah, which came before him, and that he gave the gospel, which in the Quran uses the same terminology for the revelation of the Quran, that it has guidance and light, and that the gospel preceded the Torah for instruction in righteousness. And then verse 47 of chapter 5 of the Quran actually addresses me as a Christian. It says, let the people of the gospel judge by what God has revealed therein.
Yeah, it addresses me. It's like, yo, Christian, where you at? Where you at? Judge by your book, yo. That's what the Quran says.
Being the gospel. And whoever does not judge by what God has revealed, then it is he who's the defiantly disobedient. And so I find a problem with the Quran in that it confirms the Torah and the gospel, and it tells me as a Christian in chapter 5, verse 46 and 47, to judge by the gospel. However, Piers, when I judge the Quran by the gospel, I find that the Quran does not understand what the gospel is or says. And ultimately, I would say, if the Quran is true, and I need to take it seriously to not be one of the defiantly disobedient, as it says, and I judge the gospel, by using the gospel, I judge the Quran, I find that the Quran is hugely problematic historically, but also in that it simply does not understand either what the Torah or the gospel are, or what Christians actually believe.
Get that? So, yep. And he brought up the issue of the crucifixion, the Quran apparently denying the crucifixion. That's two problems. That's two simultaneous problems. One, I mean, well, it's a bunch of problems if you actually unpack it. But as far as he just pointed out there, it's a historical problem because apart from the bare existence of Jesus, the thing that scholars, historians, and so on will, even atheists and agnostic scholars, the thing that they will say, if we know anything about Jesus, if we know anything about the historical Jesus, it's that he died by crucifixion. That's the thing we know most. And so if your book is denying that, then you are at odds with all of history. But then Wes Huff is pointing out as well, it also contradicts the gospel. It also contradicts the gospel. But the Quran orders Christians to judge by the gospel. Christian, judge by the gospel. Say, okay, I'll judge by the gospel. Jesus died on the cross for sins. Okay, I'm supposed to judge by that. I'm supposed to judge by that. The Quran says I have to judge by the gospel. Gospel says Jesus died on the cross. So that's what I'm judging by. Now let me open the Quran. Almost every Muslim I run into says the Quran denies Jesus died on the... Okay, so I'm supposed to judge by what? By the Quran? No, I judge by the gospel. Therefore, I have to judge that the Quran is wrong. So if I follow the Quran, I have to reject the Quran. That's the argument. I don't know if Piers responds to that or goes in a different direction. We'll see if he responds to that.
Your Joe Rogan appearance blew up.
Never mind. He talks about Joe. He's going into Joe Rogan. So anyway, guys, that's all I wanted to cover right there. Just wanted to cover West Huff, because guys, these are good times. I knew last year. I mean, I've known for a while. The most important thing, I've been saying it for years. You can go back to talks I was giving 10, 12, 15 years ago. I was saying, if I could change anything in the world of apologetics, if I could change one thing, as if God came to me and said, David, I'm about to take you away, but you've got time to change one thing. What is the one thing you would want to change? If I were granted a wish somehow that I could change one thing, it would be getting Christians and Muslims to understand what the Quran says about the Torah and the gospel, because it would change every argument. Every argument between Christians and Muslims is the Muslim will start, Jesus is a Muslim, and things like that. And you start quoting, or the Trinity doesn't make sense, and so on. And a Christian will go to the Bible to defend whatever point he's making. And then the response is, your Bible's been corrupted. Then the Christian has to start defending against the claim that the Bible's been corrupted. And guess what? To do that, you have to actually start going into textual criticism and things like that. And that's a very long process. But if the Christian knows, wait a minute, you don't get to say that. You don't get to talk about what textual variances. That's got nothing to do with this entire conversation, because your book affirms my book. Your book affirms my book. If the Christian can actually show that, the entire conversation is completely different. You can start off with that. Hey, your book affirms my book. Your book affirms my book. Therefore, when I show you in my book that your book is wrong, you can't deny it without also denying your book. So you're just in trouble. So it changes everything. And anyway, I can kind of read the room, read the direction things are going. And then last year was clearly setting the stage for the Islamic dilemma. But I really thought it was going to take a lot of work this year to start popularizing it and getting the argument out there and getting Muslims to respond. And it's not. It's all over the place. It's every time I open YouTube, there's something about the Islamic dilemma, either by a Christian channel or Muslim channel or by both and so on. So this is the year of the Islamic dilemma, ladies and gentlemen. And now we got it on Piers Morgan being expressed by Wes Huff. We've got Muslims responding. And I just want to say to all my Muslim friends out there, again, this is a bad time to be giving terrible responses to a good, dare I say, airtight argument. You guys are giving bad responses that would have worked 5 years ago when only a few people knew about the argument, knew what the Quran actually says. Right now, we have an entire community going through the entire Quran and finding all the verses and learning responses to your terrible objections. And what are you guys doing? You're giving the same terrible objections. Stop doing that. You guys keep doing the same thing. You'll have something that works in an atmosphere of ignorance. And then when you lose the atmosphere of ignorance, you keep using the same thing that doesn't work anywhere. It doesn't work if you have an informed group of listeners. It doesn't work. Your responses don't work. It's like all of dawah. Nothing you guys say works with an informed audience. That's why you guys have to look for pockets of ignorance and so on. I'm just saying, this is a bad year. Right as we're popularizing it and informing everybody about it, you guys are rushing in with the same stupid responses that don't work at all. Why? Because you don't have any responses. Bad year. It's going to be a bad year for dawah, man. Bad year for dawah.
Be a bad year.
Bad year for dawah. All right, guys, let's go through these super chats and we'll be out. We'll be out.
You know what's funny though?
What?
Everything. But what's especially funny here is that Westhoff just broke down the Islamic dilemma, and Piers Morgan didn't understand anything at all.
He probably didn't. Yeah, so it's not oh great, Piers Morgan now understands the Islamic dilemma and can run around giving the argument. I don't know how much Piers listens to anything. Obviously, if he's going to be like involved in the discussion, he has to pay attention. But it sounds here like he just had his, I want to ask him about Andrew Tate. I want to ask him about Islam. I want to ask him about this. And Wes is kind of going with it. And then Piers instantly, what about Joe Rogan? What about your appearance on Joe Rogan? So maybe he's not even, maybe he's just giving his talking points that he planned on and isn't much paying attention. But that's not the point. The point is the viewers, they just caught it a little bit. They just caught a little bit of that. And for lots of those viewers, that will be new information. So cool stuff. All right, let's go through some super chats here. Thoughts on Sam Shamoon? Recently watched a video. Yeah, quit looking for drama here. Francis's favorite breakfast, Ex Benedict. What's wrong? What's wrong with people, man? We're all seed vacantists tonight. What is this?
Sede Vacantist.
We're all.
That's tonight. Requiescat in pace. Sede Vacantism is when the seat is empty in the Vatican.
Oh, why do you know about all this stuff? And you've been
But right now, it's
been a Christian
there's
for
a
like 10
status.
seconds.
I did this before I was Christian.
What's funny
There's
is
the-
what's funny is you could just look at that and tell what it means, and yet I couldn't process it. It's funny. You could look at that was vacant.
The seat is vacant.
Yeah. Let's see. Check Baraka Amuri. This has gone too far. What is that? Do you know what that's about?
Nope.
1 second. You mean Baraka in the Islamic sense of blessing? Let's see. I don't know what this is about. I will search for it in case this is referring to a video. Baraka Amuri. This has gone too far. Okay, so Baraka Amuri is a channel, 23-year-old entrepreneur and journalist. He's got a video on blasphemy laws. I'm looking for This Has Gone Too Far. I don't know if you're saying check this and you're simultaneously saying because this has gone too far, or if you're referring to a specific video by him called This Has Gone Too Far. But when I search for it, he's got one on blasphemy laws, something about someone stabbing a police officer, 13-year-old wedding marriage happened in UK. Oh, looks like he's commenting on some current events and stuff. All right, might check that out. I will check out that channel, and if it's terrible, who is this? Then Sam Sci-Fi, I will never trust you again. Seeing Chris, this is Mosh Cohen. Oh, by the way, one second. Shout out to Some Random for gifting 5 Apologetics Roadshow memberships. And then we have Mosh Cohen. Seeing Christianity repeat the Islamic Jews invaded Al-Aqsa during our holidays while literally flooding all over Jerusalem every Christian holiday is just too funny.
Christians. Yeah, there were some. There's some funny stuff going on, man.
What?
I don't
What's
wanna
going
talk
on?
about it.
What?
During Easter, there were some controversies and some
yeah.
fights here and there, which is very, very funny.
Should we crush and humiliate everyone?
Yes. Let's
Okay,
do it.
then, and so we shall. Victor G says, Deuteronomy 32:25. The verse number is 4784 in the Tanakh, Hebrew year. Interesting. Can you comment on that, please, in the context of the chapter? So you're saying you're tying the verse number in the Tanakh to the Hebrew year 2023. Oh, okay. No, I get it. Yeah, I wouldn't take it seriously because I think you can always do this sort of thing with numbers. In other words, if you have these verse numbers like this, you can always wait till a year lines up. Okay, so I think I get what he's saying. So Deuteronomy 32, that's about how God is going to punish the Israelites for turning against him and so on if they do. And then so 2023. I guess you would say that is the fulfillment of it, and the numbers match up or something like that. Yeah, I'm not interested in. I think you can always do that stuff with numbers. It's like with the numerical miracle of the Quran. It's like, oh, this word is mentioned this number of times, and the opposite word is mentioned the same number of times in the entire. How's that work? Well, they just look at all the opposite terms in the Quran and eventually find the ones that line up and stuff like. So anyway, I'm not interested in. And I'm not saying it's not relevant or something like that. I'm just saying it's not something I take seriously. Told the press by what?
You said numerical miracle.
The numerical miracle.
Mm-hmm.
The live stream church service I watch gets more live views than Ali Dawa. Yeah, doesn't he get like 65 people watching? Isn't that weird for such a huge channel? I'm saying it's weird. Like, If you had a smaller channel or something like that, 65, even like 10 people. If you have a small channel, having 10 people watch you live is actually cool. That's 10 people. I mean, it's like talking to a room full of 10 people, right? There are people listening to you. So that's actually cool. If you have like 1.3 million subscribers or something like that, and you can't get, 65 people watching you live, it means something's going on. If people aren't interested in watching you anymore. Weird stuff. You guys seen Anthony's debate? Shake so deceptive. Yeah. I was at that debate. You seen? In fact, I want to post. I'll probably post a video about that in the morning. The guy made so many like ridiculously false claims, but one of the things he said was Bart Ehrman was so confused by the Trinity that he became an atheist, and he said, "You see, Christianity is turning them into atheists." It's like, have you never listened to anything Bart Ehrman has said? Bart Ehrman says he became an atheist because of the problem of evil. There's so much suffering in the world that he just can't believe that there's a God in control of any of this. And so you change it. And so the idea is like the Dawa guy, they always have to make stuff up. They just have to. And there's never any concept of accountability in their community. Like you can lie all you want. And even if you're exposed as a liar, they just don't care. As long as you're doing it for Allah, it's good. So, Sheikh so deceptive. Trinity equals 3 gods. Islam equals peace. Same guy quoted rocks and trees hadith in a sermon. It's on memory. Oh, I'd like to know that then, because that is also a relevant video response. Anthony, in that debate, Anthony focused on all the stuff that matters. So Anthony was showing that the topic was, what did the prophets teach, Trinity or Tawheed? And so Anthony based his entire opening statement on what the prophets taught. And he showed it lines up way more with Christian theology than with Islamic theology. Then the guy basically granted that the prophets as they are in the Bible do not support Tawheed. But he said that's all been corrupted. And so you just can't see what the prophet, you have to believe the Islamic view, then use the Islamic view to say, the prophets don't line up with that at all. Therefore, their teachings must have been corrupted. So what are you basing your claim that Islam is true on? How? You can't show that it lines up with the prophets who came before because you're acknowledging that the prophets contradict it and you're saying, that all their writings have been corrupted. And then so it became a debate about the Islamic dilemma. So Anthony was showing, no, your book affirms our book. So how can you say that our book's been corrupted? But anyway, so the point is Anthony focused on the important stuff in his debate. He focused on what the Bible claims, what the prophets claim in the Bible, and then that the Quran affirms the Bible. But some of the other things they actually slid through, like what he said about Bart Ehrman. So he's focusing on the important stuff, and that allows me to go through and address some of the other points. Welcome to the Hotel Mutaforni Takia. Such a golden place, such a stuttering place. Can't get it up at the Hotel Mutafornia Takia. 72 won't do. Viagra has to. Hotel Mutaforni Takia by Mojab. Need a little work on the chorus, but I like the idea. So-called Kate Schumann AP is a total fake and gay. Ortho Bro 101. You got the ultimate Ortho Bro there in the picture.
That guy's nuts, man.
What? Whoa. He looks totally sane, though. Got to judge him by what he looks like, AP. Petrick Cola had a response on what Wes had to say, and I think he made a good point on the dilemma, and I think it would be great to see them debate. Who made a good point? Petrick Cola?
Petrick Cola.
I don't think he made a good point on the Islamic dilemma. I don't know who that is, but I don't think he made an important point on the Islamic dilemma because I've seen all the points on the Islamic dilemma, and they're pretty terrible.
Sounds like a terrible drink.
Petrick Cola. Let me see, Wes.
Oh, I found it.
What?
It's got 1,000 views. Maybe it's worth checking it out. I found the video. Petrick Cola.
Petrick Cola. I just typed in Petrick Cola and nothing came up. I typed in Petrick Cola Wes Huff. I didn't see anything.
Yeah, I sent you the link.
Okay. All right. I will check that out at some point and then decide whether this person needs to be humiliated. Most people need to be humiliated, so. I will heal the schism. AP the cake human. AP the cake human. AP is slowly transforming into a Latin American socialist. are you doing?
Oh, yeah, because of the colors here.
Oh,
That's,
you're a gorilla? Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, no, you've always kind of rolled like that. Yeah, you do. All you need is a picture of Che on that shirt, and it would look perfect.
There was a time when I was a huge fan of Che Guevara when I was a stupid young boy.
Believable. I think we are all forgetting to give proper credit to who dealt the most damage to atheism's reputation. Reddit atheists. They did a pretty bang-up job. I'm back, and I married a terror rodent. It's Linda Farfour. Instead of Linda Sarsour, it's Linda Farfour. She married a terror rodent. Islam is a real banger. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Arctic-based. Let's see. Mojab's defamation defense lawyer. Wes's debate style is gentle kindergarten teacher versus sleepy toddler on the verge of a breakdown who, upon realizing he's being corrected, rage quits. That is correct. Random question, but why doesn't the Palestinian Authority mint currency instead of using the shekel and U.S. dollar? Well, I don't know.
That would require work on their behalf. They don't want to do work.
I wasn't going to say that because I don't want to be mean, but that is probably correct. And besides, if you have the technology to mint your own money, why couldn't you use that to build explosives? That would always be their thinking. What are we going to... This machine that you're going to use to print money, we could take it apart and use it for rockets? I always feel sad when I hear Muslims say they want Muslims and Christians to get along because I know that they don't realize what it means when the Quran says Jews and Christians are the worst of creatures. Or saying that don't take the Jews and Christians as friends or allies. Surah 5:51, and the verse you're quoting is 98:6, in case anyone wants to check it out. David, write that book. I'll take 10. Islamic Dilemma. Oh, yeah, I have to call it the Dislamic Dilemma. What?
Make it like that.
Yeah,
Do it.
Do it. Write the P-book. What's a P-book? Write the P-book. The book must also have counter-arguments to each argument so that we know how to refute each one. Yep,
That's what I meant. It's going to be a good book.
I agree. David should write a book.
A book.
Books are for nerds, though. Who reads books anymore when you can just make videos? Islamic Dilemma brought to you by Allah in Momo. Yep. Hey, I should put that on there. Instead of Islamic Dilemma by David Wood, the Islamic Dilemma. Allah. He's the one who came up with it. My next reserve rotation in Judea and Samaria is coming pretty soon. Do you have a video about the dilemma only? I think I just found my new QR code. I have an animated one, Mosh. It's called something like 99.8% of Muslims don't know the Quran says this about the Bible. But that's a nice short animated version of the argument. So that would be a good one to share. Let's see. Someone suggested on This Week in Jihad that someone write a book with prolific writer Robert Spencer's help. Answer, no, that wouldn't work. Robert's actually a writing machine. That guy writes constantly and cranks out multiple books per year. Yes, please write a book all about the Islamic dilemma. Oh, hi, David. Yeah.
I just got his most recent book here, which he published. It's not like I'm going to read it.
Oh, hey, look at that endorsement there. I do not believe a more important book on anti-Semitism has ever been written.
Dennis Prager. Yeah, no, I'm reading it. I'm going to look at it.
Sehr interessant. Love you guys from the Ghost. Thank you. But the Quran is fake and gay. Well, that's true. But there are people who love it. AP should write up a book, Restoring the Eton Verses. That's good.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
Jews coming to Mo. Momo. Yo Torah, where you at? We need to reenact that scene. Bring me the Torah. Yo Torah, where you at? Yo Torah, where you at? This stream reeks of Christian triumphalism. Militant agnostics unite. Yeah, good luck with that. Good luck with that. D Wood, check your email. Sent a pic of the Mubahala Bros. I'll check it out. Gotta have the Mubahala Bros. Is AP still an otter man? Now he's a cat human. Ooh, that's a good question. If you're a cat human, how can you still be an otter man?
I am not an Ottoman anymore. So I was an Ottoman. My ancestry goes back to the Otter people. So I have been an Ottoman for most of my life, but I have officially decided to go over to the other side, to the Greek side. So that makes me a cat human, also known as a cake human, and I'm no longer an Ottoman. So
That's good. That's good. So you heard it here, folks. AP officially renounces his Otterman status and is no longer part Otter.
I swear.
God bless you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Arguing the Islamic dilemma. Listening, they do not hear. Looking, they do not see. What can change a heart? Yeah, that is the difficult issue. And that's part of the reason for getting lots of other people using the argument and being exhaustive is if you have someone who's been raised his entire life and all his sheikhs and imams and dawah clowns, they all told him the same thing. The Quran says the Bible's been corrupted. And you come up and say, no, the Quran says that the Bible is the word of God. Well, who's this person going to believe? It's going to believe his sheikhs and imams and dawah guys, right? Because you're a liar. You're a liar. It's not his sheikhs and imams who are the liars. You're the liar. So it takes a long time. It can take some serious, relentless work to show him, no, we're the ones who are telling you the truth. It's your sheikhs and imams and dawah clowns who are lying. That takes a lot of time. That could take years to get a person to understand that. Guess what? That's what we're going to do anyway. That's what we're going to do anyway. We're going to keep bringing the argument, have more and more people bring in the argument, expose more stupid responses to it until people get the point.
You know what they say, though? It's not the eyes that are blind, but the heart.
Powerful. AP's got the hikmah. It's not just Sajid. AP's got the hikmah.
Such a stupid thing.
FYI, Ali Dawa's new video is him criticizing Muslims who post a couple videos together on Instagram and don't censor women's faces. But what Mojab did is okay. Yeah, that's how it is. Yo, look, if you want to have your secret wife and be banging her and have all these secret wives and stuff and be banging them and not provide for them while you banging them, then, that's fine. But whatever you do, don't show a woman's face in your Instagram video, yeah? And we're proud of that. Are you open to a ghostwriter, D-Wood? No. Please post the link for the Quran study group. Some Muslims claim the Injil in Quran is revealed to Jesus. The ones we have are written by disciples. Yeah, so Peter, one, it's in the Acts 17 community. You can just go back to one of the videos I posted. Go back to look up my video, the Quran project that will change the world. The Quran project that will change the world. Give a link to the community there. But even on that, those Muslims who say, the Injil in the Quran is revealed to Jesus, but what you have isn't revealed by Jesus. So what they're doing there is they're taking one thing the Quran says, the Injil is revealed to Jesus, and they're saying, see, you don't have something like that. What are they leaving out? The Quran also repeatedly says we have the Injil. So guess what? Even if you grant that and say, okay, all the Quran is saying is that there was a book given to Jesus, and that's all it means by the Injil. Okay, Muslims, then you have a problem because the Quran says we have it. Do we have a book that was revealed to Jesus that's just a book given to Jesus? As a Muslim, you have a couple of options on how you can try to work around that. None of them help you get out of the dilemma. Because what you can say is, somehow, what we have in the four Gospels was all given to Jesus. So somehow Jesus wrote all the four Gospels. That's one option. If the Quran is affirming what we have, then that's one way. And simultaneously saying this is given to Jesus. So one way out of that is one way to deal with that, to reconcile that, is to say that the four Gospels were revealed to Jesus. If you take the Quran seriously, you have to do something like that. The alternative, which I think is superior, but it doesn't help you out of the dilemma, is to say that the Quran is using gospel in a way similar to the way Christians are using gospel, in the sense that it could be something that's preached. It could be a message that you're preaching, in which case Jesus is sent with the gospel and Jesus is preaching the gospel and so on. Guess what? The Bible, according to the Bible, Jesus is preaching the gospel. He's preaching the good news. That's different from a book that you're calling the gospel. The Quran also calls a book the gospel. So one, you could say it's using the term gospel like we use it, that it can be a message that's being preached, or can refer to a book that you have right now. Because here's the thing. The Quran says we have the book. So in other words, when you say, hey, the Quran affirms the gospel and therefore we have to judge by the gospel, and they say, ha ha, the Quran says that the book is given to Jesus. Say, okay, do we have that? No, you don't have that. Ha ha, dumb Christians, you don't have that. Okay, well, the Quran says we have it. So you just contradicted Allah. Why is Allah wrong? Why are you saying that Allah is a liar? So that's how you roll with that one. But yeah.
It's contradicted, but yeah.
It's contradicted. Quran, the book of contradictions. The Quran quotes Pharaoh threatening to crucify people in 7:124. Yeah, crucifixion hadn't been invented yet. That's a problem. But it's using a form of punishment that didn't even exist for another 600 years. That's a clear historical anachronism, right? Yeah. And so the problem for our Muslim friends would be then explaining, what it really means is something different here. Jesus challenged the Pharisees to a mubahala in the unchanged Injil. What's the Injil? AP, now that you are a Christian, you can officially do mubahala with Ali Dawa. You can have your rematch. Make it happen. Curse Fest 2, Electric Boogaloo. Yeah, you should post that to Ali Dawa. Say, hey, now I believe in God.
That makes sense.
Let's see. Did you see Alex O'Connor call out Wes in a response to a longer ending of Mark? Video, Alex O'Connor exposes the biggest flaw in the Gospel of Mark. No, I didn't see that. I wouldn't even be terribly interested in watching that video.
You're scared.
Where was Aisha's goat educated? Eton University. It's probably the worst joke ever. Hi, guys. Hi, guys. Interested in Crusades? Do you have any info?
Get in touch with me. Yeah.
Yep. You got to be ready because AP's ready to pull the trigger on retaking Constantinople. You should look at the comments for that Petric Cola video. They are great, lol. Well, AP sent it to me. So Arctic Base says, AP's turning into a Karen Schumann.
Yes.
It'll be nagging. And how much have you prepared for your Andrew debate? Well, I don't know if AP wants to say, but I can say no one prepares more for debates than AP 20 minutes before a debate.
Yeah, I will probably, I haven't prepared anything yet. I even forgot that I have a debate until now. I will probably start preparing on the 28th or so in the morning.
Good idea. Good idea. That is always the approach that I officially recommend. And here we have, it took me to just look at the order and writing style of the Quran to see that it looks like a last-minute essay plagiarized from your colleague. Yeah, it definitely does. And what's funny is you're saying that's what it looks like to you. That's exactly what it looked like to the people around Muhammad. That's why they called him the ear, and that's why over and over again they keep saying, we've heard all this before. We've heard this before. Yeah. What are you doing? Claiming this is a revelation you just got from God. We've heard this before. They called it Tales of the Ancients or Fables of the Men of Old. And that's in the Quran. It's the Quran consistently responding to people who are saying, we've heard all this before. Why does Muhammad believe all these stories that everyone tells him? So people had the same reaction you did. And I think the reaction is correct.
They say these are tales of the old, but how dare they? May Allah destroy them.
How dare you? How dare you point out that this is stuff that people know? All right, guys. So that's all we wanted to cover. Wanted everyone to check out Wes's rendition of the Islamic Dilemma on Piers Morgan. These are exciting times. Again, Cameron Bertuzzi over on his channel, Capturing Christianity, has he cuts that part out and expands upon it a little bit. So that's a shareable video. So Cameron has a shareable video on the Islamic Dilemma there. Definitely want to be spreading all the material, video or otherwise, about the Islamic Dilemma as much as possible. In other words, if you're a Christian, or guess what, the argument works just as well for anyone else. Works for Jews because the Quran also talks about the Jewish scriptures. Works for atheists. You don't have to believe in the Bible to say the Quran is affirming the Bible, and yet the Quran contradicts the Bible. This argument works for anyone. This is a year where even if you are not going to be like making content on it or debating the issue yourself or interacting with Muslims on it, everyone should be at least sharing the videos and verses and so on as we're putting that material out there. Again, our goal is to make this common knowledge. Once this is common knowledge, Dawa is officially doomed. Not sure you've been paying attention, but Dawa is already on life support. It's really struggling. It's really struggling right now. We got to put it out of its misery. The Islamic dilemma is how we put Dawa out of its misery, guys. So that's how we're going to do it. And finally, the third orange says, check out CGP Gray's video, How to Become Pope When You Get a Chance, for some tips and tricks. You see this, AP?
I already went through it in a dream, so I know how it works.
AP already knows. AP already knows. So, but thank you for the advice. All right, everyone. I'll be. I totally forgot. I have a short live stream tomorrow. Just me and Jai and DOC are just going to take this will be at 6 p.m. and then it has to be a short live stream because I have This Week in Jihad with Robert Spencer at 8 p.m. But we're just going to go through the new Sajid video because he responds to the Islamic dilemma with whataboutism, which is fine. It's pretty standard. But he's saying, it looked like, I just kind of skimmed through it. It looked like he's saying, they're saying we've got this Islamic dilemma. But look at them. Jesus says he came to affirm the law. Yeah, Christians don't affirm the law. It looks like I glanced through and looked at the sources he's quoting. He's quoting all Bible passages and stuff like that about Jesus came not to destroy the law, but to fulfill, and so on. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at that. And unfortunately, the cool part was this got messaged to me. Someone sent me the link to it and said, hey, Sajid responds, and he's actually just talking about the Christian dilemma, the Bible dilemma, or something like that. But he says he's going to actually show what the Quran says about the previous scriptures and respond to the Islamic dilemma. So Sajid is gearing up, and these are awesome times that they're all kind of being forced into responding to this argument that they for years have said, you don't even need to pay attention to this argument. It's so terrible. It's so bad. And now Muslims are saying, what's going on here, guys? Can you respond to this argument they keep using against us? We need better responses because the responses that you gave us 3 years ago are not working now, So we need new responses.
Very, very stupid. I don't know why Sajid does this. I don't know why he tries to talk about, or he tries to bring up Bible passages. He tries to talk about Christianity. He obviously doesn't have a good understanding of it. And I had a back and forth with him ages ago, many years ago, about the Bible, about the Gospels, and about Jesus. And about Jesus' role in the Gospels and about the Gospels themselves. I understood back then, when he was bringing passages to me, how horrible he was at understanding the Bible. He's clearly not very good at arguing with scripture. So I'm not sure why he's even getting into this. It's
literally just said this is a bad time to be giving terrible responses to an airtight argument. But glad you're trying, Sajid. So anyway, we're going to take a look at that, and then we'll have This Week in Jihad, and then we can go live with AP on AP's channel whenever he is ready with an awesome topic. But here's one. Candace Owens, if AP isn't being paid by Israel, why is he called a Kate Jew man? I'm just asking questions. Hadn't even thought about that. She's kind of got you on that one.
We gotta end the live stream, man.
We got to end it, ladies and gentlemen.
End the live stream. I don't know what to say, man. Cool.
AP's been busted. That's all I can say. He's been exposed.